We're here to talk through the Spiral Galaxies by Grant Fikes. It will close out this week. It's got a diamond theme in the center, and where that actually sets up some hard ways into the center of this diamond, you also have to then reach to the outside of the diamond. So we'll track that as we get through the speed solving version of this. Here again, amazingly, and I guess maybe before this week Dan wasn't aware of how good he is, but Dan Katz again had the top time prior to me solving this. So everyone else tests and I kind of close out the testing set. So we had here a little bit more of an even distribution of the times. There's not as much of I think, a theme that you can just grab onto, but how you use the intuition / logic of a Spiral Galaxy solve. We're going to see how well this goes for me. We'll get the solve started. And as we've seen earlier this week, after you do the basic things of marking in, edges around the grid, the key step is going to be identifying cells of interest in the style, and through those cells of interest, starting to intuit where is there either a singleton cell that can't be part of any other galaxy, or maybe a set of two option cells, but in those two option cells, things that go to. So I'm drawing attention to that cell A early on because I can't really make it work over there. In this grid, I'm now actually trying to mark where those A1s would go. In part, I'm doing this because I already know this is a Saturday puzzle and it took solvers as many as 10 plus minutes to do. So this is giving me a feel for those. Looking across the galaxies as I have to draw them, I'm getting a note of then a second cell. So I'll might mark this A2. I think if I follow my notation, maybe I won't put that in, but sometimes knowing the derivative cell will help. I'm just sketching if both of those still work, and they do both still work. I'm seeing if there's anything that cancels them out. For sure, I can't go further down than that space from either side. I'm seeing if I can go all the way far to the lower right corner, and I can, going through that center option. So I think except for those two pincers, that's about as much as you can do for that A position. So right now I'm looking to other positions as opposed to putting a guess in and knowing which of those it is. So that B cell I just marked only has a galaxy to the right that goes to. I think I actually then just erase the letter because it's pretty obvious what is part of, and I don't necessarily need to have the letter engaged there, but that cell, good one to spot. Nothing else though in that lower left corner at this instant is forced. I see at least a few options for that cell, but now it's still going across that top left corner. Next place I'm honing into, it again is too far off the grid for those spaces. It's too far away. This is where the diamond is actually hard to work into. You collide with the diamond most of the time in this puzzle, so this is known for sure on that left edge, gives us a for sure galaxy. Can't be as easy as just finding cells like that though, as can it? So here's next space of interest. It can't reach those galaxies. It's blocked off by everything around it. Can't go through that diamond except through the left side of the diamond here, which makes it have to go there. It can also come through the galaxy right near it, and in doing so, it's got to come straight down. And so a thing I'm seeing is I mentioned this before, you sometimes sketch in how do the galaxies have to go. Both of those galaxies have to take that additional cell with the C, but we haven't yet resolved which of those C's it is. So we're still now looking around. If it is that C on the left side, what I'm now trying to do is see that would divide off the rest of the space. It's making this lower left corner cell, which can't be reached into by that C from above, pretty limiting. And so I'm kind of interested in the lower left corner, but that's now making me look across, because falling through that lower galaxy, I can get all the way to the 6th column, but I can't get to the 7th column. And there are cells in the 7th and 8th column in that lower row that are very tough to reach, including one that will have to be part of that A group. It would sweep way around the grid, so it's almost a case you might want to just guess with the D becoming A, because it would force so much immediately, and see if it cancels, but it's not giving you too much on the other side. It's then forced to go on that galaxy in the 2nd row from the bottom, but you see how I'm mapping that in, and now I'm seeing that cell that's 7 in, not 8 in on that row, is just as curious, and it actually only has the option right above. So I at least know this, I at least know one edge. You'll take progress as you take progress, but again, this is mapping the constraints and trying to think through them. Again, this D coming across is the one that's coming to my mind as important for some reason, and I'm trying to see if I can make this work. We're now 4 minutes in, about half the time I have to be able to overtake Dan and have the top solve on this puzzle, so still a lot of progress to make, but one thing I'm seeing is that option with the D can take the cells around it, but can't take the cell right above it. So I have another cell I can't reach that's now marking off the edges in this other galaxy. It's putting an additional edge in that C galaxy. Well, I guess it doesn't have to be the C galaxy. You could also go to the galaxy right to the right, but those extra edges are limiting. I'm checking if there's more I can eliminate. Nothing looks like it's immediately forced, but the way the subtle deduction may flow is if it actually eliminates both of the options, where I have for C 2 options and for A I have 2 options. So I'm coming to that cell on the top and seeing it can't really be part of the A's that I'm seeing straight away unless it comes up to that cell in the third row, looks like the 9th column. And it can also join to the bottom galaxy, so that cell is now making something else stand out. And so this is actually the key for my own solve, I think. It's not a cell you may have pulled in your cells of interest, but you actually could have identified this sooner. This cell I just marked G is also itself quite limited. It can be part of that galaxy right to the top. It can't be part of anything else. And I think if I actually had spotted that a little sooner, would have made quicker headway. That G has to join to the galaxy above. I'm now cascading down the letters where I had F potentially joining there. F can't join over to there, so F is going to join the galaxy below. That's now limiting getting to that lower left corner cell. That can't be from the galaxy right above. If it goes all the way to where the C's go, it would have to join up to this galaxy like this. And notice in that galaxy like this, I'm intercepting both the places I have C working. So this is the key step. I'm not going to do a logical talk through after this video. I'm going to just show you cells to look at, and you can follow back through maybe reconstructing the solve yourself to really get much better at spiral galaxies. But this is how, if you slowly notate all these things, then always as you make progress, return to lower letters kind of in their order, you'll make these quick steps happen. So I'm finding D is A. That gives a lot of headway right away. We can't reach more over to the space, so it's really, I'm now cracked through the diamond. It's hard to cut through a diamond. It's one of the strongest things here, but in this puzzle, it's now weak because we've made a galaxy come through it, and we don't have many ways to reach into it. I now see that I have to come through that left column to make that galaxy work. That closes this off, gives me one extra cell I'm taking in. That gives me now another way to cut into that diamond. On the right side there, all those other edges are known for sure. That means this lower right corner as well as the top left corner don't have a lot of ways to make those cells work. This has to come all the way across. Closes off another galaxy. How do I reach into that cell? Well, not from the galaxy to the right. I have to come from the galaxy. It's in that 10th column. Marking the rest off, G now has to take over this extra shape. The only way I reach into some of these cells is going to be through the center. Get that packing around. It's now giving me some cells that only come through the top of the diamond. I get this I shape that has to repeat. G is going to come across. This is a tight race, but it looks like I'm going to nip Dan by just a tiny little bit here. 7 minutes and 35 seconds as the clock stops. So a really interesting puzzle by Grant for a few reasons. One is Grant is not known for his Saturdays, but where Spiral Galaxies isn't as common a style, I think, for Grant to write, at least like where it appears in Nikoli, it's always with black and white themes and kind of graphical shading, and never this hard. So I think a hard version of Spiral Galaxies was just an example of Grant running into a theme he liked and a solve path that worked out. I'm not sure where I replicated all of that through the solve, but as I mark in my own notes to myself, lots of either or pairs that get you through how this works. Again, the way to think through these grids after you mark in these edges, which cells are more limiting, and the exercise for the solver, these are some of the cells that are quite limiting. It turns out actually in this grid, although as the last one I got to, I think this purple cell is a more key seed than you might respect at the start of this puzzle. And working through the seed, you can work through the rest, but at some stage I started with this light green and eventually jumped all the way around the grid. But these are some of the most constrained cells. You could actually, at the start of this puzzle, like go cell by cell by cell by cell and just say how many galaxies can you reach to, and you'll find like this blue is a 1, this red is a 1, actually that purple is a 1, and that's going to be what really helps you make headway, is finding this rare one, which you found me get into during the solve. So we'll stop there, but thanks for watching these videos. Hopefully you enjoyed this week and learned a little bit more about how to be a speed solver in Spiral Galaxies. Thanks. We'll catch you again soon.